let's bring in somebody that has lived it and knows a little bit more about college football than us because he's a legend. I'm going to bring him in right now. We got Raymont. Raymont, how's it going today, buddy?
Yo, what's up, fellas?
Hey.
I appreciate that intro, calling me a legend.
Hey, man.
Absolutely.
Somebody's old, but yeah, it's cool.
You're a legend to me, man. I'm an old Buckeye fan, and I remember you getting it done back in the day, no doubt. And we wanted to bring you on today and get a lot of thoughts from you about a lot of things. But I want to ask you first something we've just been talking about, and that is the conference realignment. The Big Ten's obviously bolstered itself, but, you know, Pac-12 is now the Pac-4. The Big 12 is way different than what we've seen before. What's your thoughts on this conference realignment and all these changes that have gone on with teams, you know, moving around?
Yeah, man, I'm not a traditionalist or the kind of person that's not down with adapting to new times. I'm cool with it. It's weird. It's going to take some getting used to knowing that potentially like Oregon and USC will be, you know, conference mates where we'll have a home and home with them on a regular basis. Like, that's hard to kind of wrap our minds around. But when you kind of think about everything else, man, like there's been a realignment all throughout the years. I was in the Big Ten in '93 when Penn State came into our conference. And it took some getting used to, but just like that, man, it becomes a brand new tradition that everyone will be able to get behind. It's hard not to believe that it's going to turn into like two major super conferences at some point. And honestly, man, as a person who's a fan of football, I just sit back and watch and get ready to enjoy it.
But wouldn't you, I mean, because you've seen so many rivalries getting torn apart over the years, like Texas A&M and Texas. Now you got the Civil War, civil conflict, wherever the heck they call it in Washington, or the Apple Cup in Washington State. Let's say that Michigan left the conference. I mean, wouldn't that just bother you to the core just because there's such a rivalry with them that they, you know, you wouldn't get that chance to beat up on little brother to the north?
Yeah, no doubt, man. I hear what you're saying for sure, but I mean, with that being said, I'm not trying to be a jackass right now, but are you comparing the Apple Cup to?
No, obviously, yes, obviously.
I know. Yeah. No offense. Yeah, that's not happening. That's never going to happen. But I mean, yeah, sure, I get it, man. Like, there are some established traditions and rivalries that are falling by the wayside. But with that, there are brand new ones that are popping up as well. So it just depends on how you look at it, man. I get it. We like to look at the ones from like back in the days, but you know, the big boys, those will never be tampered with.
No, I'm with you, Raymond. I mean, I live down here in the South now, but I'm from Ohio. I'm a Big Ten guy. And, you know, all I ever hear is when my team's hanging around at the end of the season is your conference is weak. You know, like the Big Ten isn't as strong as the SEC down here. I have to hear it all the time. Well, you know what? I don't think they can say that anymore. I mean, we've added UCLA. We've added USC. Oregon and Washington are two good programs as well. I think this puts the Big Ten on a level playing field with any other conference. I mean, you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not that many more conferences.
No.
Like, damn, how many other conferences? This is pretty level. Yeah. I mean, yeah, the Big Ten is they've always been strong, and like historically they were much stronger until the SEC really started to come to prominence the 90s and early 2000s. But yeah, of course, like adding like some three major powers into the conference is all it's gonna do is like bolster it. I think when you're looking at it, if you're a true college football fan and you're trying to formulate like which one's the best, it's probably hard not to say the SEC's number one, Big Ten's number two, and I would guess ACC's a distant third at this point.
Yeah, no, I would agree. Well, kind of changing topics here. Tell us about your process of like what your recruitment was to go from Lorain, Ohio to Ohio State. Like, what other schools were involved? What were you looking for? Things of that sort.
Man, recruiting is so much different now than it was back then. We didn't have the 4- and 5-star process, And to be honest, man, like I am one of those late bloomers when it comes to getting recognized by college programs. I didn't get a chance to play varsity football till my junior year. I did not get a chance to get into any of the games and start until game 6 or 7 of my junior year. Wow. And then I started 4 games my junior year and 3.5 my senior year, and that was it. Wow. So I was definitely someone that was under the radar and did not experience the same level of attention that like so many other guys have. But needless to say, when those coaches watched the tape over those 7.5 games, they were like, yeah, we got to get this guy right here. I like that guy. This guy's wonderful. And that was me. So I was recruited by Georgia, Michigan, all the Big Ten schools. And I ended up my very first trip was to Michigan. Bo Schembechler was still the head coach, and they were coming off back-to-back Rose Bowls, and he put his arm around me and told me I would be his next great Michigan running back. And I'm like, yeah, you're absolutely right. I'm down. Let's do it. And then I finally took a trip to Ohio State. I went to Columbus, and it was just different. Mm-hmm. And John Cooper was a master recruiter, master salesman, and they truly sold me on the idea of bringing my state university back to prominence versus going out of state somewhere else where it's already established. So I'm a Cleveland or Lorraine dude. And yeah, that's all it took for me to sell me on staying in state and going to Ohio State.
And Raymont, talk to some of our listeners and our watchers who don't know about the tradition at Ohio State. I mean, it's just, I've been there. I lived there. My grandfather has been watching Ohio State football for 95 years. And so I know about it, but some people don't, man. Tell us about, what it's like playing there. And then also as an alumni, going back and just, the tradition that the school and the program has.
It's special, and I'm biased, of course, but I think it's second to none. We have major traditions where, of course, it's Script, Ohio, and we're in a huge city, and the city is so significant and does not have any, major, professional teams except for the Blue Jackets that have come in, the last, 20 years or so. So the big ticket and the number one story always has been, surrounded or built off the back of Ohio State. Yeah. So to come to a big city where the tradition and the history is there, you have these amazing coaches like Paul Brown and Woody Hayes. And of course, recently Jim Tressel, John Cooper, Urban Meyer. We've had like this tradition that is really is rivaled by not too many across the country. And when you think about the Midwest and Ohio, like football has always been huge. It's always been king. And for the state university, like college program to like come straight through Columbus, that's made it even that much more special.
I agree.
Now, you've had a lot of mentors and people you've looked up to through your high school and college career, not only teammates, but coaches, and even your pro career. Because I was just sitting there kind of scanning, thinking back of, some of your pro teammates and coaches. Yeah. Who were some of those people that not only motivated you to be a better person then, but you really took a lot of in stock of what they gave you then to use today in your professional life?
Well, first and foremost, man, there are 2 coaches that truly stand out, and you will not have heard of either one of them. The first guy had he was responsible for having one of the most trajectory-changing conversations in my life. His name was Harvey Herman. He was my geometry teacher and also the offensive line coach on the varsity football team. And he helped me understand during that time I told you when I did not play on varsity until the 6th or 7th game. Yeah. And he helped me understand that my time would come and that I had to continue to believe in myself. And his wisdom and knowledge from his belief of me helped me believe in myself. So he is always going to be number one. The number 2 guy that has been so instrumental to me, his name was Dave Kennedy. He was my strength coach at Ohio State. He was widely recognized as the best strength coach in the country for a number of years during the 90s. But there was another time when I felt like I was going through a bunch of adversity and I wanted to quit / transfer to another school. He helped me understand that all of the things that I thought that I was doing, I actually wasn't doing. And he helped me understand that if I want to get the results I need to get, man, I got to put the effort and the energy and the work into like who I want to be. That life lesson right there allowed me to stay there at Ohio State and go from being a person who was relegated to the sidelines to ultimately being the MVP on the team. So those two guys right there, when we're thinking about like the people that have been most influential for me, I'm always pointing at those two guys right there.
Yeah, and you mentioned considering transferring and going somewhere else, and I got to be honest, I'm a proponent of letting these kids roll out of town if maybe they're sold a bill of goods. It's not actually what the case may be, or their coach that recruits them leaves and they want to go somewhere. I kind of thought it was stupid to make them sit out a year and lose a year of eligibility. So I'm all for allowing these kids to transfer, but it's gotten a little bit crazy, don't you think?
Honestly, man, I don't think it's all that crazy to be if I'm being honest. Like I said, now you guys can tell, by our earlier conversation, I'm not a traditionalist.
Yeah.
I'm down with like things changing, and you got to be adaptable. And if we're truly being honest about this, like big time college football makes a lot of money.
Oh yeah.
For a lot of people, including athletic departments and athletic directors, head coaches. Shit. If you look at the entire offensive and defensive coaching staffs, like these guys are all making $300,000 plus.
Oh yeah.
And if you do a good job, you mess around and win a national championship. If you're a defensive coordinator, you can go somewhere else immediately or if you're a head coach of a smaller school, you can jump and go somewhere else with no penalty. So you penalize the guys that don't get paid, the guys that put all the energy and effort into making like the history and the tradition what it truly is, for them not to have a chance to freely go back and forth or anywhere they want to go. It's not out of hand to me. But Nate, I get it, man. The people that don't like it, they don't like it. But I'm a proponent of guys getting a chance to go somewhere else. Now, I say that to say, if I had the same landscape, I probably would have transferred. But the fact that I didn't, it forced me to actually stay where I was. And I had to buckle up and become a man and recognize all my shortcomings to become the type of player that I needed to become. If I did not have that, I would not be who I am right now.
No doubt. That's my point. I mean, I just feel like some people we had Reggie Brooks from Notre Dame on the show, and he was at Notre Dame, man. That backfield was loaded when he got there. I mean, Jerome Bettis, his brother, Tony Brooks. I mean, the list went on. Raheem, ran the ball some, and he was like, he called his dad and was like, I got to get out of here. I'm not getting to play. He got moved to defensive back, and he was ready to move on from Notre Dame. And he's like, you made a commitment, son. And his dad told him, you don't have a choice. You got to stay and work it out. And now, Reggie's been working for the university for years, and he loves Notre Dame and had, one of the greatest seasons that any running back there's ever had. And I feel like sometimes now kids, may jump the ship a little too early just because they can. But I do, I see both sides of it.
But I'll say this, and I feel you. And Reggie Brooks was a great player, and he went through a lot of adversity. He had to share the ball with amazing running backs like Ricky Waters and Bettis and all these other guys.
Yeah, I forgot. I left Ricky off.
I know. These running Waters. Come on, man. How can you forget Ricky Waters?
I love Ricky Waters.
Pretty Ricky's what we call him.
He was pretty. Run the football.
You remember that? I don't know if you remember that obscure reference to a Martin show, but you think about it, man. He did that, and he became who he was. But for every Reggie Brooks, there's 100 guys that we've never heard of again. Mm-hmm. And that's the truth.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, heck, they're one injury away. I mean, there's guys that they never had that one injury could have just as easily been a Jerome Bettis or Ricky Waters, you name it. I mean, you see that happen time and time again. What, when you came to Columbus, when was it that ring of the bell moment, like in practice or something, that, you know, you're not in Kansas anymore, and that, holy crap, this is really a big deal? Like we talked, like Jeff Hastings, the old Penn State guard, was talking about how when he was in the pros, going from the Lions to playing center to take over for Damani Dawson, and he was like, just watching the film, he was like, holy crap, I can't do that. And it was just kind of like seeing, like, just seeing how much the game is so much bigger and faster. What was that moment for you, heck, in college or even the pros?
Oh, those are two totally different environments. Now, high school to college was a humongous leap in talent and all of the responsibilities that we had to have, change of environment. But the same amount of a jump from high school to college was college to the NFL. My moment was, I had it early when I was with the Buckeyes in camp. These huge, massive linebackers were teeing off on my ass, and and immediately I was like, "Hey, is this?" Yeah, well, maybe my coach didn't know what the hell he was talking about when he said I was going to do this. But needless to say, I didn't quit, and I kept on going. I can't point the finger to anyone specifically that rung my bell in college, but in the NFL, I made that switch, and I was with the Bears, and we were in training camp, and we got to go up against the Cleveland Browns.
Yep.
And on that team, I want to say Bill Belichick was the coach, and Pepper Johnson was in the middle, and Carl Banks. I mean, these old Eric Metcalf, like dudes that I grew up watching and cheering for. I'm now standing on the same field with them. So that was number one, surreal. And then they had me playing fullback, and I was supposed to block Carl Banks. Now, hey man, look at my face.
Carl was
I'm 6'2", 225. Carl Banks is a goddamn giant. 280 or something. Now he's probably like 260. This old ass man who's been in the league for 15 years. He had old man strength.
Hell yeah.
He was killing me. And he would tell me, "Hey, young buck, yeah, this is the NFL. Welcome to the NFL." talking that talk in my ear. I'm like, "Yo, man, I'll be right back."
You know, we have asked that question so many times, and I've been always waiting for somebody to give that answer, because I mean, it's so surreal, like watching them on TV, and then the next year you're playing against them. I mean, heck, you look back at that Giants linebacking core when they had LT, Harry Carson, Pepper Johnson, and Carl Banks. It was just like, oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, oh my God, I'm actually playing on the field with these same guys.
Yes.
So man, it was absolutely surreal. They knew all the tricks of the trade over the years, so they knew what they were doing. And then what was really crazy is that you deal with Carl Banks and Pepper Johnson this week, and then next week I'm going against Greg Lloyd, who's certified crazy. Like this guy's a damn animal. And then the next week, right after that, I'm going to go over here and mess with this other guy who's going to knock my head off. So that was the true difference. When at college, you have a good team, and then you're going to play Northwestern.
Yeah.
Nice little break. Maybe a Rutgers before you go against like a Michigan State.
Yeah.
When it comes to the NFL, it was 32 all-star teams, and you had to be ready every single week.
Every single week, no doubt. And fighting through the Big Ten like you did, and playing against the people you played against, and then in the NFL, you know, that had to prepare you for what you were going to see after football. Talk to us a little bit about, you know, how that helped you, and, you know, what you're doing now, and how that got you prepared for what you got going on now. Everything.
Yeah, sure. It prepared me tremendously, man. You had to go through a lot of adversity. Now, it's a huge difference from playing at the top of the game and top level of your profession to actually going to being just a quote unquote regular adult in the real world. What I truly had to understand was there are some true transferables that I've learned over the years that would allow me to be successful, not just in high school, making the transition to college, but from college to the NFL, but also from the NFL onto like regular life. So the fact that I was a great teammate, the fact that I knew leadership and was a captain and could work within a team to help motivate people, but then also take direction, to know that if one way didn't work out, I needed to be able to be adaptable. So, I need to try some other different things. Also learning how to be resilient. I'm going to lose, I'm going to fail, I'm going to make mistakes. But if I don't come back from them, then those mistakes will define who I am. So all of these things that I learned throughout the game, I took with me after the game. And that's why I worked at Ohio State for the last 15 years, being a major gift fundraiser and director of development. And that was an amazing job. Man, the majority of my job would be going to football games and sitting in suites, or sitting courtside at a basketball game, going to play golf at a country club.
That sounds terrible.
I know.
Jeez.
I know. Tell me about it. Shit was awful. It was so wonderful that I did it for 15 years.
Yeah.
And then I recognized, there was more to my life and my purpose and what I want to do. So the person, even though all of those occupations changed over the years, the one thing that stayed consistent was me, how I would show up, this being a shoulder to lean on, a big brother, a leader, a captain, and a mentor. So with that, I started my own business. I call it Elite Mindset and Performance, EMP. And I help people recognize the tools that they have, that they can do anything in the world that they want to do, and recognize that they can be the best version of themselves. So I travel around coaching, consulting, doing public speaking. You can tell by the golden tones of my voice how effective I am out here, guys.
I'm ready to get back on the field.
I know. I see you. Like, yeah, this guy's getting me ready. But yeah, man. So I'm doing all of that and traveling around the country, working with athletic organizations, departments, teams, individual athletes, Fortune 500 companies, mom and pop shops, entire educational departments. And this is what I do. And I get to do it every single day. So I appreciate this platform for allowing me to have a chance to like talk about it, because right now I'm living it.
Yeah. It's funny listening to like talking about your experiences from the past, just going back to your experiences at Ohio State with doing large endowments and that stuff.
Yeah.
You could see so many of your skills. I mean, because a lot of people just see the 3 hours on the field. What they don't understand is all the locker room time, all the practice time, all the togetherness time to create a team and creating that relationship with them, that they're not just number 76, they're such and such a player, and knowing who they are, who their family is. And I'm guessing that really kind of transferred onto your, work within the university too as well, because I mean, those aren't like one pick up the phone call and, oh, here's $100,000 check. I mean, those take a long period of time. And even within the business community, trying to get those bigger dollar sales, you're creating that relationship aspect. I could see a lot of those transferable skills that you got from football really transferring onto what you did in your professional life today.
Hey, man, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And you're absolutely right. And that's what I think current athletes sometimes don't necessarily understand is the things that they're doing within that team, and the hard work, of course, and the type of attitude and approach, and then working with the team, but then also understanding that after playing the game, they then have to work with the media. They also go out and do work in the community and work with people. And then there's also an element of sales that happens as well. All in the mix, you have to be competitive and you have to be on top of your game. And if you lose, you have to then go back, watch film, analyze, and be resilient enough to come back and be better the following week. And you have to do all of that with the criticism when people calling you awful. So that's what these guys they're absolutely going through. And then after their playing days are able to kind of, if they're aware enough, they can see that all those skills are truly transferable. It'll allow them to be successful in any occupation that they choose to do. I just chose sales, and this, my number one product was my alma mater.
Yeah. Well, heck, it's what you know best. I mean, you sell what you know. My brother.
Guess what, my man? And now I sell what I know, and that's me.
Yeah.
Selling me. Yeah. Well, I don't want to make. Don't get me wrong. I'm not selling myself out there like I'm. They're whoring myself.
Some people do that now.
Hey, ain't no judgment. Hey,
you got to make money anyway you can these days.
There's room for all kinds of occupations. I'm not doing that, but I am selling myself.
My brother played at Minnesota under Lou Holtz, and I remember. I mean, I was like 10, 12. I was like early teens before I'm teenage, and I remember we'd sit there.
What year are we talking?
He was there from 84 to 87. Okay. So he was there during the Ricky Foggy era. Daryl Thompson.
We were teammates, man. One more thing. I know you got a question. This is what happens. I grew up watching Daryl Thompson. I'm like, this guy is amazing.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 10 years, me and him were on the same team. Now I'm the starting running back, and he's like a backup. And he's on my team with the Chicago Bears. So, like, that's what's so crazy about that close connection that we have in that fraternity of that we call a brotherhood. Sorry to interrupt, but
no, that's great. He was sitting there. I remember one time he would just sit with me and we just talk about football. Yeah. And we talked about Holtz, and he's like, you know something, Lou Holtz, X's and O's, he ain't the greatest. That's what he's got assistants for. But he's like, this guy can motivate you to believe that you could run through walls, that you could eat nails. Like, and it's funny because I deal with this in my own professional life where a lot of people, and this is probably what you deal with on a daily basis. And heck, what you went through is you think you have a ceiling here, and having that outside force, realizing your ceiling is way the hell up here, that you're greater than who you think you are. I mean, where in the pros, it's more X's and O's. You got to find your own motivation. I mean, tell me, am I wrong in that respect between like from motivational standpoint, from a college to the pro aspect, or what are your thoughts?
Well, I think the guys that make it to the NFL are elite. These are the best of the best. Just think about it, man. These are the best players in the world, the entire world.
Oh yeah.
I don't know any other way besides sports that you're able to define that this group of people are the best in the world. And that's who these guys are. And the majority of them are alpha males. They're ultra competitive. And a lot of these guys also feel like they're self-motivated and self-starters. Yeah. Now that can happen in any different, any number of ways. But for the most part, like it's all self-contained, and guys know like how competitive they are, and that we all really wanted to be at the top, and we all just happen to be like ultra talented and super athletic. So at that level, I noticed that like it was more of on the individual athlete, because these guys are also grown men and this is their livelihood. Yeah. But in college, you're still young, your mind is still forming. There are still a lot of people are not necessarily making money and taking care of families and things like that, of that sort. So it's not necessarily like a livelihood. But I saw more outside motivation in college versus the league. The league was like, yeah, it's a bunch of hungry wolves, and you got a very short amount of time to get that food.
Yeah. No, there's no doubt. And, we've seen the last couple of years with the running back position, some of the people say the position's devalued. And I said, well, you're not watching football then, because if you look at the teams like I just look at the Super Bowl last year, Pacheco comes out and, he helped that team get there and win that game. And then you look at the Eagles, they had 4 running backs. If you include Jalen Hurts, that helped them, propel them to the Super Bowl. Talk to us, a little bit about the position from where it was to where it is now and where you think it's going.
I think the position is still the same. I think the running backs nowadays have to be more more of a complete back. I think guys need to be able to ball out the backfield. They need to be able to run routes. Honestly, I thank guys like Marshall Faulk for like revolutionizing the position, and furthered by someone like Le'Veon Bell. These guys nowadays, they need to be more complete. And I think I understand the idea and the premise that the position is devalued. But I think what kind of lends itself to, I guess, supporting that is you can get a Pacheco in the 7th round.
Yeah.
So the value of him, I mean, one way you can look at it as being undervalued. Another way you can look at it as being overvalued. So it's not like the position itself isn't important. I think it means more of, hey, instead of getting, reaching to get a Saquon Barkley in the 1st round or Zeke in the 1st round, we could actually wait around to the 4th, 5th, or 7th round and still get someone who could not only carry the team, but also be a major contributor, like on special teams and in the passing game as well.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more. But Raymont, man, we appreciate your time so much, man. I always, like I said, was a huge fan, and getting the chance to talk to you today was just awesome. And I love what you're doing. I hope you keep going and keep helping people out, because we love what you're doing, and appreciate you spending some time to talk to us today.
Hey, man, thank you so much. I appreciate the time. It was a great conversation. I appreciate the kind words. If you want to help me out, please go on to Instagram and follow me, Raymont_Harris. I'm trying to build up my Instagram following. I've learned I'm not an old dog that can't learn new tricks. I've told you guys got to be adaptable nowadays.
Yes,
so I'm learning this new age marketing, and I would be happy if both of you guys and go on, follow the kid, and then also help you tell your listeners to go do it as well.
Absolutely.
We will do it, man.
Your family and your kids too.
We will do it.
We'll
do it, and we'll check in with you again real soon. Okay.
No doubt. Be good, man.
All right. Go Bucks.
Go Bucks.